I hope it's an interesting check-in question. First of all, I can't believe that we're at June 5th and that in a little over 2 weeks, the sun's going to start going the other way. Like, don't throw tomatoes at the screen, but I'm really aware of the sunlight and like where we're at with the sun. And I'm wondering, as your faith community moves into summertime, what's something that your community looks forward to during the summer? I feel like I've had several conversations recently with leaders that talk about the fact that their communities almost go into shutdown mode over the summer. And so as a way of pushing back against that, I'm asking this question, what's your community looking forward to? Kind of planting that seed that there are maybe some unique, fun, and interesting things we can be about. And we're a small group. Feel free to unmute. You don't have to put it in the chat.
We're looking forward to fall. Sorry, but it's hot in Oklahoma in the summer.
Okay. Okay. So what's the impact, Steve, on your faith community then?
Oh, it does. The energy level goes down and people hide out in the air conditioning for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. How does that affect you as the leader?
I don't know. I don't feel like I get to slow down much because we still have a lot of ministry work going on here. So that doesn't really change at all. So that's actually a lot of fun to continue to get to meet, so many people every week and just see how they're doing and everything. So that part of it's a lot of fun. But we do talk about the weather a lot over the summer.
Just like we talk about the weather in the winter up here in the north, how much snow we have. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for sharing. Does anyone else feel like sharing what your faith community looks forward to over the summer?
We try to plan some fun events like a baseball outing. We go to our local state park. I mean, more community building activities, things that you can invite people to. So that's usually what we do more in the summer. Our church picnics coming up. So those kind of things are more relaxed, less structured, and with chance just to be with each other.
Adventure together. That's the phrase that hit my mind as you described that. I love it. Kristen, you're unmuted.
Yeah. This is something that, so I serve on Synod staff, for those who don't know, Synod staff of the Northeastern Iowa Synod. And we were looking forward to and just had our first ever ministry fair called Creative Collaborative Congregations. And so it was just a day of all different kinds of workshops. Anyone from any congregation was invited to come, and we had workshops that ranged from like talking about substance abuse in your congregation. We had youth ministry workshops. We had camps. We had spiritual practice workshops, including like a sound therapy workshop. We had a hospital chaplain talk about how do you visit people when they're in the hospital? What do you say? And so just a really wide range of things. And it was really, really fun. And the worship band, I'm going to brag a little bit because this is my idea, even though I didn't actually participate in it. So the worship band was, I found out that one of the pastors who is fairly new to our synod was a band director for many years before he went to seminary, high school band director, and so asked him if he would lead this. And so he led a worship band that was just kind of anybody can bring their instruments. And so the workshop session right before worship was a band rehearsal, and they played the hymns, and it was kind of chaotic, but super lovely. The instrumentation was really weird because there were like a couple of tubas and a couple of trombones and 3 flutes and like 1 saxophone in the middle range. So, and it was just lovely. So I had a great time. So not not necessarily looking forward to that anymore, although I am looking forward to hearing what feedback we might receive from that. And our synod has some other fun things going on this summer. And sitting next week, the week after, something like that, our bishop and another A to B are going with a delegation of folks to Hungary for our companion synod. We've got over 400 people going to the youth gathering this summer, which is super exciting. And at the end of the summer, we have a group is planning a global church together workshop day. So it'll be kind of similar, I think, on a smaller scale to what we had this past weekend, but it will focus on workshops around global relationships. So there's just a lot of fun things going on. And I don't have to plan that. I just get to come and enjoy it. So that's nice too. I am going to the youth gathering, not going to Hungary. So, we're all kind of doing things. Plus, then our bishop is going on sabbatical for the month of August. So I'm sure we'll think of fun things to do to his office while he's gone.
I love that. I love that.
So yeah, that is the world of synod staff in the Northeastern Iowa Synod right now.
Kristen, what I love is that I had the blessing of being your church-wide rep last Synod Assembly. And a year ago, you were talking about and starting to plan this ministry fair. So being able to hear the story of what it ended up looking like is just a joy. And truly big props to the former band director that was willing to just say, okay, whatever instruments show up, we're going to do this. That is so bold. Oh my goodness, I have goosebumps even thinking about being in that space and just trusting that Spirit's going to make it all come together. And as you said, beautiful music was made.
And that's really kind of how we planned the whole thing, because a lot of it was like, we reached out to all the synod networks and like all the camps and colleges and campus ministries that we have connections with, along with just kind of a lot of people who we knew were passionate about different things, and just kind of let the Spirit work to those who had the capacity and felt the Spirit move to present. They did, and others didn't. And, so it's just kind of whoever showed up, and we ended up with like 30, I think, different topics. So very, very fun.
The other thing I really want to applaud, and I really hope that people that listen to this recording later take this as inspiration. I hope that you hear how empowering this synod has been of their leadership, and what happens when you let go of the need to control every little detail and invite those that are gifted and inspired and feel the call and have the energy to lead. I mean, just look at the joy on Kristen's face as she talks about that. I just feel like there's so much to that. So thank you for sharing that story, friend. Absolutely love it. Okay, does anyone
Jill?
else? Yes, please.
It's Janelle, and I really appreciate what Kristen had to say and want to share something. So I'm in the Oregon Synod, and I'm in the Gap. However, for the last 3 years, when I was in congregations, I coordinated the Mother Emanuel 9 commemorative prayer service. So this year I'm like, I want to do it, but I'm not in a place. And I've gathered 4 other congregations, and it's going to be ecumenical, and we have a place for it to be. So on Monday, June 17th at 7 p.m. at a church building that's for sale, we're having the Emanuel 9 service, because that's what happens when you gather people together.
That is an empowering and beautiful story. There's a theme developing here today, friends, and it's exciting. Any other initial comments before I launch into our script and our centering time for today? Okay, all right. So with that, I want to welcome you to our 186th online gathering for faith leaders across the country. This regular gathering is called Courageous Leadership, and it's sponsored by ELCA's coaching ministry. I'm Jill Beverland. I use the pronoun she, her, and I am the Director of Coaching Ministries for the ELCA and one of your facilitators today. So our ministry has an intentional connection to the truth and healing movement of the ELCA. And with this, we will begin our time together by offering a land acknowledgement. I am speaking with you from my home on the Fox River in Appleton, Wisconsin, which is the ancestral homelands of 5 nations of Native Indigenous peoples: the Menominee tribe, the Ho-Chunk Winnebago tribe, the Potawatomi tribe, the Oneida tribe, and the Stockbridge-Munsee Band of Mohicans and the Brothertown community. I honor and respect the diverse Indigenous peoples connected to this land on which I live. Because we understand that all land is Indigenous land, I now invite each of you to name in the chat the Indigenous peoples or tribal nations who were the first to love and care for the places where you are located now. Along with this, it is important that we acknowledge all of our Indigenous siblings who continue to care for this land and call it their home. And if you are Indigenous, we invite you to name your people or tribal nation in the chat feature now, so that we may see you more fully in this virtual space. And friends, through these gatherings, we are committed to creating a safer and braver space where we are able to bring the truth of who we are and how we are doing. And with all of this said, we proclaim that these conversations are meant to be an intentional step to live more fully into God's dream for us as the body of Christ. So again, welcome. Today is our Breakout Rooms by Topics Day. But before we jump there, I have a devotion to share that's a little bit different than anything that I personally have brought to the space. It comes from the Center for Action and Contemplation, which originated with Father Richard Rohr. And this one is entitled, The Foundation is Always Love. I'll say that again. The foundation is always love. And as Jason prepares to deploy this video, I invite us all to find a posture that makes you feel comfortable and relaxed. You may want to put both of your feet on the floor. Put your hands comfortably in your lap, on the sides of your chair. And be intentional about slowing our breathing. Breathing in deeply, and then out. Again, that intention, breathing in the slower pace, and breathing out. I hope we all just feel our blood pressure coming to a little bit lower level, heartbeats dropping a little bit. I invite you to keep this mindset, this posture, and this rhythm of breathing going as you focus on the sights and sounds of the video. See what Spirit places on your heart, and may this be an act of prayer as we open to God, both sharing and receiving words of healing, encouragement, forgiveness, peace, and of course, most of all, unending love. Jason, please. Indeed. Amen. So friends, just another couple minutes to unpack. What did God put on your heart as you sat in this centering time? What did you notice crossed your mind? How did your body react?
Just a blessed time of peacefulness in the midst of a busy day.
Thank you, Scott.
I got the opposite. A responsibility that God is living in me.
How did your body react to that awareness, Sylvia?
Just that overwhelmness that I get in my gut.
The observation for me was just the beauty of watching that very small insect moving around the piece of wheat or whatever bit of creation, and how, had we not paused or had they moved the camera, we would have missed that moment of that small detail of creation.
Beautiful. Thank you, Janelle.
Sometimes I get disconnected and life seems outside me. And so that reminder that life, love is in me and outside me makes that whole feeling of oneness, that we are all connected in God's presence.
It is God's life and God's love that's in us, around us, connects us. Thank you for that beauty. Anyone else? For me, and I've watched this now 3-4 times in preparing for today, and I got really fixated on, Janelle, I think that's a foxtail, if I'm remembering the name of the plant correctly. And suddenly I was transported back to a riverbank and I was fishing with my dad. Well, fishing, I'll use that term very loosely because as a kid, I was always running around, jumping in the water. And I have always been very attracted to nature and spending time and wanting to just experience everything. And I love to collect cattails and run my fingers over them because that fuzziness was really interesting. And I wonder, Janelle, to your point, how many times I removed little creatures while I was doing that. I don't know. But in my heart, as I was watching that little bug, I was remembering the love that was around me as I was in the presence of my dad on the riverbank, just feeling safe and free to explore and learn and ask all the silly questions that he never made me feel silly for. Yeah. Well, amen, friends. With that, we will be preparing now to jump to our breakout rooms by topics. I know that wizard and colleague and unicorn, Jason, has the slide prepared to help us know which rooms we are jumping to. We'll stay there for about 30 minutes. And then as always, come back and unpack themes, what we are learning, what God is putting on our hearts today. So blessings on your conversation, friends. Welcome back, dear friends. So as is our habit, I would love to hear what theme has Spirit stirred amongst you? What learnings are you walking away with? maybe a bold action step or two running around out there. Sylvia, I see you laughing.
Well, I'll summarize our group. It's hard to be vulnerable, but we need to do it to plant seeds.
Wow.
And the others can join in if they want.
Okay.
I think to piggyback on Sylvia's comment, like vulnerability and courage go hand in hand.
Absolutely do.
We kind of got at that same spot towards the end there when we talked about you got to be willing to fail. If you're going to try something, if you stand a chance of surviving, you're going to have to try something new. And because of that, you're going to have the attitude that it might fail.
And as faith leaders, you're doing that in a public space, in a fishbowl every day. Right? And that takes a special something. Yeah.
So can we edit what Luther said and fail boldly?
Yes, go forth and fail boldly, right? But there are emotional consequences to that, especially when, and correct me if I'm wrong, friends, but I think that we are moving out of a season where it used to be that pastors were trained, don't become friends with the people that you're leading. And I think that there's a recognition now, especially since COVID, that we can't have our leaders just standing there not having anyone love them and support them, right? Are we on the cusp of a new season with that? Yeah, right.
That's hard because I think a lot of pastors have been burned because they are public. Yeah. But it's again that vulnerability and courage. Like how do we come up and meet people where they're at? And trying to keep that non-judgmental stance, but yet speak truth and love.
I feel like more leaders are willing to reach out to other leaders, which might be their, support network, may not be their communities necessarily, but I feel like more leaders are willing to say, hey, I'm alone out here. Who else feels alone, or who else, wants to connect in whatever way, and especially with Zoom or, other ways to connect if they're not near each other.
That's why we hold this space every week. It's for you all to do that and have that safe space. Janelle.
Gosh, Melissa kind of echoed part of it, the being vulnerable, but then also, recognizing the power differentials, and holding those boundaries as far as someone in our group talked about, because they work with the Synod, the Synod can't make you do something. Even as clergy, we can't make people do things. We can invite them, we can encourage them, we can do experiments, we can model being courageous and vulnerable. And at the end of the day, it's each person having the courage themselves to take faithful steps forward. Even if it means not meeting the expectations of success that someone else defines.
There's a lot to unpack in what you just said, Janelle. And the thing that I will say is it's like a domino effect. Some people call the church-wide office and say, well, you need to bring a resolution forward so everyone does such and such. Oh, really? You completely misunderstand the power that we have in the national office, because we too can't make people do things, right? Just like Kristen and her Synod staff can't make Northeastern Iowa do such and such. And just as each of us in our faith communities don't have the power, we get to be in charge of ourselves, right? But if we can help plant those seeds and help others align in like ways, then there's some power. So friends, you've lifted up and pointed to the topic for next week will be healing practices for leaders, brought to us by a coach from Northeastern Iowa. Kristen, I'm going to ask you to help me pronounce Heather's last name.
Eggs,
Eggs.
like the letter X, I think, is
Okay.
basically, that's, yeah.
Very good. Heather is just a beautiful soul, a coach trained in some very specific ways. And I don't think that we're going to see the end of needing to practice different ways of healing. And Heather will bring some beautiful practices for us. I'm excited about it. So as we leave our space today, friends, thank you for joining us. I hope you are leaving with hearts full, action steps that make you feel empowered. And as always, please know that you are seen, you are valued, and you are loved. God bless you, friends.
And so are you.